you might want to get a comfortable chair, maybe get a drink. This video is going to take a while. No, I'm serious. This one's going to be a long one. Hey there, friends and neighbors, what's going on? Hope everyone is doing alright. Thank you for coming in, watching the video. So, yes, this one is going to be on the long side, but because May the 4th is a little over a week away, it's come up fast, I thought it would be a great time to give a full update since it's been a couple of years, I think, since I showed you the full arsenal, as I call it. I figured this would be a good time to not only show my sabers, but also my kids' sabers, because they, between the four of them, they're doing pretty well themselves. In the interest of keeping it on as brief as possible, I am only going to show the sabers off just a little bit. I'll give my thought, brief thought on each saber, on the companies that we've ordered from, and try to keep this thing moving along as smoothly and seamlessly as possible. But at the end of the video, what I will do is I'll leave a couple of thumbnail links for a couple of playlists. One for all of my saber unboxings, and one for the saber reviews. All of the sabers that I'm going to be giving you a brief glimpse of today, they'll be in, those playlists. So feel free to have a look when you're done with this video, of course. And if you haven't subscribed and you like what I'm the content I'm producing, please consider subscribing. Very close to 400 subs. I would love to reach 400 by May the 4th. I have a lightsaber giveaway planned for 500 subs, but I can't do that until we reach 400 subs. So, please, if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a lightsaber fan, if you're just a fan of general shenanigans in general, please. The more the channel grows, the more I can do. Alright? Alright, enough of that. Let's get to it. So first and foremost, we've got Ultrasabers. This was the company that I started with. This was back in 2020. We were going through a really bad year, and I wanted to make the Christmas of that year memorable for my kids. Knowing now what I didn't know then, I might have gone with a different company. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have. The thing with Ultrasabers is, even though their electronics are maybe a little subpar compared to other companies, they do have some very nice hills. In my opinion. And even though I haven't ordered from them lately, it's been a while, I don't regret what I have ordered. I enjoy what I've gotten. And, for the future, who knows? But this was the first, this is one of my favorites of the whole collection, alright? This was the very first custom saber I ordered for myself that wasn't a toy. This is the Fallen, inspired by Jedi Fallen Order. This is the lightsaber that Cal Kestis uses. I got this one with a white blade, or silver as they call it. This is just one of my favorites of everything. When I'm doing, the blade is still in this one because when I'm sparring with my kids, odds are this is the one I'm going to grab. So, but that's my old trusty. I'm not necessarily going to light... A lot of these sabers don't have blades in them. I'm not really going to worry about lighting them up. I'm just showing the hilts off. Like I said, go check the videos out. Next up, we have this one. This is the Guardian. Inspired by Obi-Wan's hilt in Episode 1, Phantom Menace. The thing about Ultrasabers, their hilts tend to run big compared to what the canon hilts might be. That doesn't really bother me. I have to be honest. This one's a pretty simple design, you know, compared to some of the others. Feels comfortable in my hands, and I do like this one. I actually won this in a raffle, so of course I'm not going to complain about that one. The saber I purchased that I won that raffle on was this. This is the Emperor's Hand. Inspired by Mara Jade's hilt. Control box isn't too bad. You know, figured out how to grab it without scraping my thumb on the control box. This one's another nice design. And there are other companies out there that offer a hilt like this. Ultrasabers is kind of... they're not thought of too favorably in the saber community. They're not the worst company either. But... Alright, this one I actually got in a mystery box. This is... originally it was the shock, but I swapped out the emitter for a Manticore emitter, and I swapped out the pommel for a Durinian pommel. I call this one Shock 2.0. It's a stunt saber. There's no sound configuration, but it just made the saber that much better, and I ended up liking it a lot more than I did when I first got it with the original setup, if I'm being totally honest. Alright. Next we have this one. This is the Spectre. Inspired by Kanan Jarrus' hilt from Rebels. It's a big boy, but to be honest, I don't really mind it. Windows, I am a sucker for windows in the emitter. Next to the Fallen. The Fallen is probably my favorite design of theirs. This is probably a second. They also offer it with or without the engraving. I got mine with, obviously. Alright. These are not sold as a pair, but I group them as a pair because they're the Lost Grey and the Fulcrum. Ahsoka Tano's hilts are inspired by them from Clone Wars. Definitely not screen accurate. I will readily grant that. But I like the design for what it is. You know, the grip takes some getting used to, but I do like them. Alright, speaking of chunky boys, this one's just ideal for home defense. This is the Crimson Scorpion. I don't think it's really inspired by anybody's hilt in canon, but the claw is very reminiscent of Count Dooku's saber. You can, even without the blade, this thing has the weight to it. You can seriously mess someone up. Keep this by your bed, and if they ever have a home invasion, just, you know, swing for the fences. Can you imagine a heavy grade blade in here? Oh, yeah. That'd be nasty. One thing that Ultrasabers has, what they call RevanSabers, which is literally, they take whatever's laying around the shop, you know, hilts, emitters, pommels, miscellaneous doodads, and they will assemble a saber, which is, it turns out being completely custom. You have to spend a lot of money to get one, which is a big drawback. But, you know, the Christmas shopping that I had done, I was able to pick one of these up. So I call this one the Emerald Fury because I had it in a green blade. The main hilt is, I believe it was the Raven, which I don't think they even sell anymore. The overlay is from the Mantis CE, which is their version of a curved hilt. And the claws are from the Dark Warglaive. I'm not sure what the pommel is from, but I do know the wire is not on any saber they sell. They just put that there for fits and giggles. Not as outlandish as some of the other RevanSabers that I've seen, but I'm quite happy with this one. And it's probably the only RevanSaber that I'll have because I don't intend to spend that much money ever again in one shot. So. Alright, I do have a few others. And there's also this one. This is, you're not going to find this in the Ultrasabers lineup. This is it's the Empress, which is based on the hilt that Rey uses at the end of Rise of Skywalker. But I got this secondhand from a gentleman by the name of Isaac Woodruff, and if you're in the YouTube Saber community, odds are you know exactly who I mean. Great guy, he's a friend of a lot of us. He tricked his out. This is the Crimson Empress, but this overlay and this part over here, they're taken from the Dark Empress. So he made kind of a two-tone deal. And he was looking to sell it. He made me a reasonable offer, and I went for it. I do like this one, I have to say. This is just too funky. When I ordered the saber for myself and the sabers for the kids, which I'll show those in a minute, I also ordered this one. This is the Princess, the LE, the Gold Edition. The reason I ordered this was, I mentioned it on my channel before, but for the, you know, in 2020, my wife passed away unexpectedly, and I can't really explain why, but when I was ordering the sabers, it felt wrong not to pick one up for her. Even if I wasn't going to use it, even if it was going to be a display only, it made me feel better ordering one, so go with your gut in instances like that. I got this one with Purple Blade. I don't duel with this one, I don't spar with it, this is mostly display. But that was the one that I picked up in honor of my wife, if you will. She wasn't as big of a Star Wars fan, but I think she would have enjoyed having one of these for herself. And since this is Leia's, my wife liked Leia, it fit. So, when in doubt, go with your gut. Alright, a couple of others before I get to my kids. This is the Initiate V2. It was a freebie that I got with that order, that big Christmas order that I purchased. It is on the plain side. It's also a little bit scuffed up. Call it natural weathering. No big deal. Not really a hilt that I would go for myself, that I would pay for, but, you know, seeing as it was like a free, you know, random you know, grab bag, whatever. Not gonna complain too much. It's not a bad hilt. I mean, next up was, this was a grab bag saber. The Apprentice V4. Another stunt saber, no sound. Again, kind of plain compared to some of the other hilts. Not one that I would go for on my own, but not a bad spinning saber, to be honest. I mean, you know, I didn't pay for it, so I mean, well, I mean, I did in a way, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. All right, next up, my kids. For Hayden, my 20-year-old, well, now he's 20, but this is the Arbiter version 2. Similar to Luke's from Return of the Jedi. They have another version. Always a green blade for this kid. They have the version 3, which is a thinner neck, but I didn't really trust that for, you know, dueling, sparring, so I got him the, you know, the thick neck, just in case. Just in case. So for my youngest, Oliver, he's been on the channel a few times. I picked him up the Aeon LEV5. I got the pommel muffled, it's a little loud. The one thing about this hilt that I'm not crazy about are the claws, because if you're not careful about where you're holding it, it's going to scrape your hand. Oliver doesn't really mind it, and I have heard that you can flip these. I've actually seen some examples of it being done, but since Oliver doesn't mind it, I figure if it's not broke, don't fix it, leave it alone. He tricked his out, though, with a pommel from the Spectre. He wanted to change it up a little bit. So, doesn't affect how loud it is either, I'll tell you that. That's one thing about the Obsidian soundboard. I mean, it isn't the best. Despite what Ultrasabers says, the Obsidian board is not the best. But it does have a fair amount of volume. So, that's not a bad thing. Alright, my oldest son, Connor, I had gotten him a Manticore, but he tricked his out a little bit. If you remember, where did I put it? That's the emitter of a Manticore. Okay. Connor got the emitter from the Crimson Dominicide, and he added the pommel from the Dark Doridian. Not a bad combo, I gotta be honest. Kind of like that. It's not a bad set. So now we come to Noah. If you've seen enough of my videos, you know who I'm talking about. He's been in a bunch of my other videos. I got him the Savior, which is Darth Revan's, his Sith hilt. But Noah wanted to trick his out and pimp it up. And believe me when I tell you, this isn't even a chunky boy. This one is thick. Alright? That's the main hilt of the Savior. Okay. The pommel he swapped out for, I think it's the shock. I'm not 100% sure. But the emitter is from the Malice, which is Darth Malicus's hilt. And this thing is heavy. Again, home defense, you know. They're not sharp. The blades are not sharp, but they are blunt. You can give someone a bad day if you're not careful. But it is a sweet look. Thing is loud. But yes, those are our Ultrasabers. Alright, so now we come to Saberforge. We don't have as many of those as we do some of the other companies. But I'm not done buying from them yet either. Again, very nice hilts. The electronics have gotten better. Currently they have what they call First Harvest, which used to be their veteran tier. 10 sound fonts, you can't swap them out, but now they just offer exclusively RGB. Instead of having to pick one blade color for your hilt, you get the RGB so you can swap them all around. They have Golden Harvest V3, which used to be the champion tier, like 25 fonts. You can add fonts to them. Again, the RGB color change. And then they have Golden Harvest NeoPixel. So, but a few of these that I have. First is the Gladius. This is version 1. They're selling version 2 now. This one's not even available. What draws me to a hilt first and foremost is the look of it. I will admit maybe I'm a bit of a snob that way, but I like what I like. What can I say? But this one really struck me as different compared to some of the other hilts. The emitter, for one thing. And it is pretty comfortable in the hand. I took this to Comic-Con in 2021 over in Rhode Island. So, this has traveled a little bit. That's not a bad hilt. Next up, I got this one, which is the Katana version 3. They have 4 different versions available. The first 3 are kind of variants of this, and the 4th one has an Ito wrap around the hilt. Very fancy, it looks beautiful. It is a pretty fair increase in price compared to these, so that's why I didn't go for it. But this one is easily a 2-hand saber. It's got a good grip. You know, it's another fine one. I do like the emitter, the Suba. That kind of sold me on it. Next up, I got the Emerald Knight, which is kind of a variant of a speeder bike hilt. Like a Koran horn. Not completely accurate, sure, but it is a riff on that. This one jumped out at me right away. The way I shop the hilts is if I find one that I'm attracted to, you know, I'll mull it over for a while, and if after maybe a month or so it still has my eye, then I'll start saving up for it. This one didn't take me long to decide on it. I just had to wait for it to be back in stock. This one's a popular one. This one, this is the Dooku. Or actually, it's not the Dooku. It's from Count Dooku. It's the Count. Version 1. Again, second hand. I got this from Ike Woodruff, who I mentioned earlier. This one was actually installed with a Verso board by Black Lion Sabers. The curved hilt takes a little getting used to. This is the only curved one that I have, but it's nice. It really is. No problem with that one. Next up, I got the Outcast. This is a variant, was inspired by Kyle Katarn's saber from the Jedi Academy, Jedi Outcast video games. This one's a nice one too. I don't think I really have a hilt that I regret buying, if I'm being honest. Certainly not that one. And the last Saberforge that I own, here now, this is the Sentinel. This is one of the Apprentice Sabers versus the Elite Sabers that all the other ones are. This one's not a bad little hilt. I gotta be honest. It's pretty... not too heavy. You can swing this around not too badly. Oliver had taken this one of the swinging videos that we did. This is the one that he used. So it's not bad at all. It really is not. And the only other Saberforge that we have in this house is Noah's. This is the Cyber Assassin. This is the weathered version. This one's thicker than we thought it would be when we were looking at it on the website. But he likes it. He doesn't mind it at all. I might have gone for the original version versus the weathered, but at least with the weathered, they didn't go too crazy with it. So, and I will say one thing, the curve is subtle. It's not, very pronounced. So, you can hold it two-handed like a regular saber and do alright with it. But there are more sabers from them I've got my eye on. I just gotta bide my time and save up and wait for them to be in stock. But, yep, that would be Saberforge. Alright. So now we come to LGT, and this is where we've got quite a bit going on here. LGT Saber Studios, or I think they're called Nexus now. Unlike a lot of other companies, LGT, I keep calling them LGT, but these are more mass-produced. They're not as expensive. Well, quite a few of them are not as expensive as other companies will sell them, so they're a little more budget-friendly, which is probably why we have so many of them. If you are just starting out in the community, or in the hobby, I should say, or if you maybe want to pick something up for one of your kids and they've never had one of these, or if you know that you're not going to dive too deep into the rabbit hole, one of the LGT vendors would be the way to go. Like I said, they are pretty budget friendly, so that does help. Some vendors aren't as good as others. I'm not going to name names. Do your research. Alright? The ones that we have ordered from are Darkwolf Sabers, Crimson Dawn, Rebel Sabers, and I also have one from Mystic Knight's Armory. Alright? RevanSabers is another reputable LGT vendor. Okay? Go with any of them, and you should be okay. So we'll start off. This is the Legionnaire from Crimson Dawn. I originally got this baselet, but I upgraded it to a Xenopixel core from Darkwolf Sabers. And this one's a nice little hilt, I gotta say. You know, I only have a few neopixels. I'm kind of choosy about what I go for that, only because I like to spar with my kids a lot. Most of my stuff is baselit, but I do have a few neopixel or xenopixels, and that's a nice one. This next one is exclusive to Rebel Sabers. It's called the Mystic Knight. This is a real fancy one. This one's an RGB, but they also sell it for Xenopixel. And if there was ever a hilt that seemed suitable for a Xenopixel or a NeoPixel, I think this might be it. This is just... that's just a fancy one. That caught my eye real quick, I gotta tell you. Going back to Crimson Dawn, we got the Regent. This might be one of my favorites from the LGT lineup, if I'm being honest. The emitter, for one thing. I love the design of that. Not to mention, the blade goes in pretty deep. So, as a dueling saber or a sparring saber, I really like this one. Honestly. I've used that more than once. Going for Darkwolf, we've got the Argo Solstice. They also sell a black and gold version. But I kind of like black and chrome, or black and silver. The emitter is what sold me on it. That shroud. Again, it's another good one that I've used a few times. If I do have a saber that I'm honestly not the craziest about, it might be this one. This is the Crusader from Darkwolf. Mainly because I prefer the traditional sabers versus crossguards, in all honesty. On its own, this is not a bad saber, by any means. I just prefer the traditional ones. But, of course, I still have it. The day may come when I end up selling some of these, but it is not this day. And as far as the canon replicas, first of all, we've got Luke's from episode 6. This is from Darkwolf Sabers. I don't duel with this one because I'm not crazy about how shallow the hilt, the blade goes in the emitter. But if you get a lightweight baselit blade, this one is fun to spin around. And again, I mean, this is iconic. Seriously. That's an iconic saber. These next two I keep as empty hilts. This is the Heirloom from RevanSabers, which is the Graflex, basically. And then there's the Dark Legacy from RevanSabers. I took the battery out of this one only because I don't use it that much. Not my favorite to spin around, mainly because of how it's set up, but the hilt, I mean, it's Vader. Come on. As far as the Graflex, charging this one is a bit of a pain. The way the core, this was the first NeoPixel that I got. And the way the core was set up, you would basically have to take the saber apart. You have to take this off, and then get rid of that, and then slide the core out and get the back. It's a pain. So I took the core out. I'll figure out something to do with it. But this is the OG of lightsabers. So of course I'm hanging on to it. Somewhere down the road I might get a different Graflex and a Vader hilt that's more user-friendly. But that'll be further down the road. So now we come to my kids. First is... this is the Wraith hilt from Crimson Dawn. And Noah has two of these to combine them into a staff. Which is why he's got the shorty blades on them. These are just 24-inch baselit. Very lightweight, very... no rough edges, nice choke point right near the emitter. he enjoys using these. Of course, he does have a NeoPixel of his own. This is, again, the Luke hilt from Darkwolf.
And Solo.
We actually got this second hand from our friend Zach, aka Darth Ravens. Zach sold this to Noah for a reasonable price. Noah was happy to get it because, I mean, come on, it's a NeoPixel. Oh, I almost forgot. Wait a minute. So, this is from Mystic Knight's Armory. It is the Starfighter. And as you can see, it is a traditional sword style. They also sell a Ripper Blade, which, if you're not familiar with Ripper Blades, they're basically like a plastic... they're made for lightsabers to distribute the light through. Let me show you.
Power up.
This particular blade was specially made for the Starfighter. The thing with the Ripper Blades, though, is they're obviously not dueling friendly, but I really... The way, the tang of the blade, of the Ripper Blade, is not that big. And the blade itself has a fair amount of weight to it. So anytime I'm spinning this, I get nervous because this wobbles a little bit. And I'm afraid that the blade is going to snap out. So this, if I want to spar with the blade, with the hilt, I should say, I put a regular lightsaber blade into it. But for a display, the Ripper Blade is just fine. So, that is a nice hilt, that really is. So next up we got the Arcan from Darkwolf. This one's one of Noah's. He likes this one a lot, mainly because of the fancy emitter. And then, you know, the not-so-fancy hilt, which makes it ideal to grab onto and swing around. He enjoys this one a lot. The swinging video that we did, the music video, I should say, this was the one that he used. Alright? I can't blame him for liking that one, I gotta be honest with you. We're still on Noah's. This is a Scavenger from Darkwolf, based on Rey's that she has at the end of Rise of Skywalker. And one thing you'll notice is no button. This one works off of a dial.
Power up.
And then to turn it off, you just turn that dial. That might take a little bit of getting used to, but not bad overall. So, man, Noah's got a lot of LG Alright, this one's the Sukanshido from Crimson Dawn. A little bit of a brief note, this is not how it is sold. The hilt is all this color. Noah took this off of a different saber. He basically swapped it out. I'll show you in a second. But he really likes this one a lot, mainly because of how lightweight it is. I call it a nimble saber. It's great for swinging around. I kind of like this myself. It has a very katana samurai ninja feel to it. And then he has his own crossguard. This is the Grand Quillen from RevanSabers. You may notice that a bit of a two-tone action going on here. Well, that would be because he took the bottom half of the Grand Quillen and put it on here, and then he put the bottom half of the Tsukushido onto the Grand Quillen. Show you a better look at this. Not bad. He likes it, he enjoys it. Alright, not to be outdone, my son Oliver has a few of his own. First is... this is one of the earlier versions of the Fallen Order Saber. I think this is V2. I think. This comes from Darkwolf. They have multiple versions. But, again, this is one of the earlier ones. It's pretty lightweight, I gotta say. But it's not bad. It's more of a... it's got the more traditional look with the shrouds. And, again, Oliver's got another one. He has a staff of his own. This is the Vengeance. Darth Maul inspired from RevanSabers. And they sell this as a staff. You can combine this. And believe me when I tell you, when you combine this as a staff, I do not recommend the full 36-inch blades. 32 at most. Maybe even a 24. Alright, because this thing can get big if you're not careful. But he likes this a lot. They have this traditional chrome version, and they have a gunmetal version that they sell. But it's not the official Maul Saber, but it is definitely inspired by it. Again, you're basically getting two sabers in one package. Not a bad deal. Those are our LGT/Nexus collection. So now we come to one of, if not our favorite company to order from. That would be, of course, RevanSabers. Unfortunately, they had to close shop due to circumstances. I am hopeful that someday they will be able to reopen, but the way they would do their hilts is they would come up with a hilt design, and they would fabricate it and build it, and then that would be a one-of-a-kind saber. They might have sabers with similar styles, but never, ever the same saber twice. So anytime you had one of their sabers, you could rest assured that no one else would have that particular saber. I will admit to feeling a little bit guilty because every time I would tell people to order from them, at the same time, I was guilty of the habit of, if they had a hilt design that I liked, I would jump on it and snag it and buy it, and if anybody else had their eye on it, they'd be locked out. So, apologies. But no, the truth is, I've talked with Nick and Jamie quite a bit on Instagram. They're great guys. I hope someday they were able to get back into it. But at the same time, I understand that things are the way they are, and I have no regrets of what I have bought from them, and I am thankful to them for sharing their artistry with us. That being said, I'm going to shut up and show off the hilts. This was the first one I got from them. This is the Matsari. Design of that emitter. Oh. Very, very nice. They every now and then they would offer mystery boxes. I snagged this a couple of years ago. It was a mystery box that they offered. I call this the Veteranus, which is Latin for veteran. The reason I named it as such is because, as you can see, it is weathered. Even the leather. But, as weathered and well worn as it may be, it is still serviceable. Hence the term Veteranus. I like that one a lot. This one, I was able to put a bid in and buy before it hit the shop. That emitter. Woof. They actually named this for me. It was, they named this the Phoenix, which is, not Catalan, Cataran, I think is the language. It means Phoenix, as if you couldn't tell from the term itself. But, you know, the emitter is what sold me on it, but again, the wrap. They do such a good job with the wraps. And not only that, but the metal itself, I mean, it's just so unique compared to what they were doing before. You know? I do have a few others. Oh, this one. This is the Basatia. This is perhaps one of, if not my very favorite saber for spinning. I've done a few videos where I've, spin demonstrations, music videos, whatever. This is the one that I've been using. Okay. I love this saber. This is just made for the flow. It really is. Give you one more look at it. Love this one. And before they closed, I was able to snag 2 more from them. That's kind of a final hurrah. This one's the Venan. Very slight weathering. They're only stunt sabers. They don't do sound sabers, but stunt sabers have their own charm. This is what sold me on it. The grooves on the hilt. Oh, love it. And finally, for me anyway, this is the Zeo. And it is a RevanSabers thin neck. Like, hey now, come on. Look at that. Very, very high quality stuff. So Oliver's got one of his own. This is a Shoto saber. This is a Serajara. That's one of the more unique designs, I think. He saw this one and fell in love with it. I had to buy it for him. And I don't blame him. It even came with a short blade. This is one of their blades. So. And of course, Noah has a couple of his own. The first one that he got from them This is the Tarasa. That's a nice style. And a UV blade. Not purple, they call it UV. That ultraviolet like a black light. I'll tell you, if no one didn't buy this one, I would have grabbed this one for myself. That one's real nice. And lastly, he got this one called the Svikari. This was his Dark Jedi hilt. And what I mean, to show you what I mean by similar styles, if you look at Oliver Shoto, and you can kind of see what I mean as far as the pattern, that square pattern. But that's where the similarities end. But that is a wicked looking emitter. So that is the Svikari, and those are our RevanSabers. Alright, so to wrap it up, now this is what I just call the assortment. These are sabers from companies that we've only ordered from once. Only because at the moment they really don't have anything else that has caught my eye. That may change. You never know. But first off is my Vader's Vault, the Maelstrom Elite. The thing about Vader's Vault is their sabers are nice, but they are pricey. Not only that, you have to wait. As you can see, they are nice. Yeah. The thing about these, though, is they are not only pricey, you gotta wait a while, too. I had to wait, like, I kid you not, I had to wait 10 months for this. Alright? There are people who have ordered that have had to wait longer than that. So, I'm pretty much one and done with them. This is the Darkstorm from Sabermach, aka the Fortress of Solitude Superman Crystal, as it has been dubbed. I had to wait a while for this one, like maybe 6 months, but that was more COVID related. Sabermach is based in Singapore, and you know, they got hit pretty hard with COVID regulations and all that, so this took longer than it probably should have. But I have absolutely no regrets on buying this saber at all. This is one of my better ones in the collection. I like that one a lot. Currently, from Sabertrio, I have two. First off is the Valken, which is a Pico Crumble baselet. There's no smooth swing or anything like that. Really, the only difference between this one and the Obsidian from Ultrasabers is with this, you can change the color of the blade. But that's pretty much it. However, you know, that's why I had no problem with the Pico Crumble. If I'm going to complain about that, I've got no business owning the Ultrasabers blades. The hilt is fantastic. Pico Crumble doesn't bother me at all. The Valken, look at the emitter on that, baby. Like, for real. Very cool hilt. And then I have the Reaver, which is a CFX NeoPixel from them. They have a couple of other sabers that I have my eye on. The Vectra is one, and the Senza is another. I'm debating on the Solo Guard. And they have that, what is that called? The Deimos, I think. I don't think I'm done with Sabertrio quite yet. Not yet. Alright, I do have a TXQ saber. This one's from Saberspro. This is the Guardian. This is the only one that I have from Saberspro. The only problem I've had with this saber, and it's not really a problem, it's more of a quibble. In order to get the blade in, you have to take this out of the emitter, screw the blade in, but you got to make sure that you get the length correct. Otherwise, if the blade isn't flush against the LEDs, the light distribution is going to be a little off. So I keep the blade in this one so that I don't have to mess with it again. That's the only quibble I have. I love the hilt itself, though. That's very cool. Two other hilts I got, my most recent acquisitions. I have the 0.3 from the Saber Merchant. The crystal chambers that sold me on this one. I don't think I'm done with Saber Merchant yet either. I got to keep my eye on his shop. Jeremy's got some good stuff. And of course, we've got the Vendari, or the Vendari, depending on your pronunciation. This is from AZ Sabers in collaboration with Stony Magnum. And this is rapidly becoming one of my favorites to spin as well. This is perfectly designed for that. Not only that, it is a beautiful saber. So highly recommend checking out their website. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave the web addresses to all of these companies in the description for this video. Take a look at the companies, and see what you can find. The last thing I have to show off, these are a couple of empty hilts that were given to me by a friend of mine who thought that I would enjoy them, and he was right. They are empties, of course. This is Darth Maul's, his half of saber from the Clone Wars, and then this is Ventress's, Asajj Ventress, the saber that she uses near the end of the series. Jeremy from the Saber Merchant is going to hear from me about getting these installed. I think Golden Harvest NeoPixel would go quite nicely in these. So I'll get that done, and then once that's all installed and I get these back, I'll be showing off these bad boys. And last but not least, I have to show the one that started it all, the Hasbro special. The original thin neck. This, of course, was the old Hasbro collapsible toy saber that was sold in the 90s. The blade has a lot of wear and tear to it. My brother had the Vader hilt. I have this one. We had fun, but I did manage to hang on to this one. I'm not getting rid of this. Alright, this is the one that started it all. This was my OG. So, I think I got everything. Yes, I did. Alright. As I said, I'm going to leave thumbnail links to the playlists of all these sabers, all the unboxings, all the reviews. Check them out. Post a comment if you have a question. Leave a like. Subscribe if you haven't yet. That will do it. Alright. Take care of yourselves, my friends. Until next video, as always, please be good, be well, be safe, be happy, and thank you for watching.